In a previous video, we looked at split testing on Netlify, and we saw how you can serve different branches of your site on the same URL so that you can be shaping the traffic between those branches and then measuring to see how they perform. But of course, in order for that to be useful, you need to actually measure how they perform. So let's look at how we can do that with Google Analytics on Netlify. So if I pop over to the site settings for my site, I'm going to go and look at the build and deploy section. And down here we have some options to control some post-processing. So these are steps that run after your build has completed. So you've used a static site generator or some other build step in your site compilation. We've got a site that we're going to push out to the CDN. But before we do that, Netlify can do some snippet injection and actually push some code into every one of your pages before we deploy it. So I'll just show you can choose where that goes, either just before the end of the body tag or before the end of the head tag, depending on your needs. And you can give it a meaningful name and then add the code that's going to get injected into every page. So I have one of these set up already, and I've called it Google Analytics because it's my Google Analytics tag. Here it is. This will look familiar to anyone who's used Google Analytics before and created a tag on every one of their pages. Often this is in a template in your build, but here we're pushing it through this snippet injection because we want to access something from the environment that runs the build in the first place. So we've actually added another call to the Google Analytics function here, and where for every page view we're actually specifying another dimension in Google Analytics. So we've created a custom dimension that we're calling branch, and the nice thing with snippet injection on Netlify is that you can format this using liquid templating. So here we have a liquid variable which is accessing an environment variable available to us in Netlify, which is the branch. So there's a whole host of different environment variables baked in by default, or you can define your own. But here what we're doing is accessing the branch environment variable. So that means that whenever this runs, we'll grab that variable and inject it along with the rest of the code into every one of the pages. So let's have a look a little bit at how that looks. So I will go to first of all the production version of my site. I'm also going to call up while we're about it. Let's see if we can find a recent, there we go, a recent branch deploy. And I'll pull that up as well. So now we have two different versions of the site. Now these might be behind the scenes being served up in a split test or something similar, and you can see some of the details of that in a different video. But I wanted to show you is how the source code looks for this. So the page source here, there's our kind of familiar JavaScript injection for Google Analytics, and it's been populated here with master because this version of the site was from the master branch. And then if I pop over here to my OSO orange branch, again the same code. Let's just make that a bit bigger. Same code being injected by our snippet injector, and you can see that that's now been populated with this other branch. So that means that in our view of the analytics in Google Analytics, this dimension is now available to us. So we can start to track the relative performance of our different branches that are being served up. So I hope that's useful. I hope that shows a little bit about how we can start to expose the performance of our different split tests and the performance of our different branches. And you can get more information about how to set this up in the documentation for branch split testing. In the documentation there is quite a few instructions on how you can access different environment variables and push those through to Google Analytics and into your snippets injected by the post-processing. So check out the docs and we'll look at something else another time.